This is the Y'all Show, talk with a Southern accent. And we're off and going on a Thursday of the Y'all Show. And here on the Y'all Show, as if you've been able to join us here in the last couple of days, we've been on a spring swing tour of the South. We started a couple of weeks back in Crystal River, Florida. And then last week we went to Auburn, Opelika in Alabama. And we're staying in the heart of Dixie on today's Y'all Show with John Rawl. And we're going to be going to the Alabama Mountain Lakes. And those are the 16 counties across North Alabama. And Melea Hames is going to be joining us now in the very first portion of our Y'all Show. And she's with the Alabama Mountain Lakes Tourist Association. And she's going to help us set the stage of all the exciting things in North Alabama. And I'll tell you with Melea some of the great guests that we'll have right here on the Y'all Show. But drum roll as we get this Y'all Show started. Let's welcome in again from the Alabama Mountain Lakes Tourist Association, Melea Hames. Hello, Melea.
Hey, John. How are you?
We are great. Thank you for letting us come to North Alabama.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, we're going to have a fun time with you today as we're going to discuss all the fun options available across these 16 counties. And just kind of, if you will, give us a quick overview of exactly where you are when we talk about the Alabama Mountain Lakes.
Well, like you said, we're the 16 North Alabama counties, so we stretch from the Mississippi line to the Georgia line to the Tennessee line, and then pretty much everything above Birmingham. So we've got the northern part.
And when we talk about Birmingham, most people know where that is on the map. What's the first county north of Birmingham that you represent?
That would be Blount County.
Blount County, okay.
Yes.
And then you have Coleman County as well, correct?
Uh-huh.
And we're going to have fun discussing with Melea all the exciting options. Also, we've got some great guests in addition to Melea on today's Y'all Show as we spotlight North Alabama as part of our spring swing tour of the Southeast. Brenda Cantrell is going to be coming on from Unclaimed Baggage. I don't know if we're going to be able to get through this segment. Melea, you might have to help us on this one. Unclaimed Baggage in Scottsboro, that's a story all to itself. They're celebrating this year their 50th anniversary, and we're going to be visiting with Brenda, the sort of brand ambassador of Unclaimed Baggage. That's going to be on later this hour. And then we'll have in hour number 2 today, we'll have Judy Hood. She is the wife of David Hood, one of the Swampers of Muscle Shoals Sound Studio fame, and she also represents the Gunrunner Boutique Hotel in Florence, Alabama. Judy Hood will be coming on to talk about that and maybe a little Muscle Shoals music. That's always a good thing to talk about, right, Melea?
That's right.
We'll have that. Plus, we'll also be going, we've got some barbecue royalty coming up today on today's Y'all Show. Chris Lilly will be dropping by virtually, and he's with Big Bob Gibson's Barbecue in Decatur, Alabama, Morgan County. And Big Bob Gibson's home of the unbelievable tasting white sauce. And it works good on chicken. But we're going to ask Chris the big question. Can you use this on all other types of meat? And he'll answer it truthfully, I'm sure. And we'll have Chris Lilly of BBG, Big Bob Gibson's, on in hour number 2. Again, as this is our spring swing tour of the South as we visit the Alabama Mountain Lakes portion of the heart of Dixie. Okay, Melea, your website is available for people to go to, northalabama.org. And socially, you've got the social media connections at Visit North Alabama. Everybody go there, bookmark it, like it, follow it, subscribe, whatever you got to do. We're going to go through in hour number 2. You're going to drop back by here before we leave out today, and we're going to walk through what you've come up with as a really cool idea during this pandemic. When business returns to usual road trips. So we're kind of doing a similar thing here on today's Y'all Show where we're focusing in on North Alabama and the Mountain Lakes portion of the state. But you already have done a great job, a yeoman's effort there at your website to break all kind of great trip ideas. And we'll walk through some of those in hour number 2. But let's start off first. One of the reasons we have you on here, Melea, is because of the pandemic. Hopefully you and everybody else there in North Alabama are getting through this. We've been kind of watching what Governor Kay Ivey's been doing in the state of Alabama. How have you been doing? How are you people?
Well, we've been doing pretty well. We've been working remotely and kind of going out at some outdoor locations there at the beginning of this. But we've been working from home and keeping in touch, and we've been hanging in there.
What about people who've wanted to come there and do tourism? What's your response been to people who are interested in coming to North Alabama?
Well, one good thing about North Alabama is that we're not a crowded, we're not an overcrowded spot, and we have tons of outdoor attractions that people can go to. One of the things that we're most famous for is our waterfalls, and we have a North Alabama waterfall trail that you can find on our website. But we had been encouraging people to get outdoors, be safe, stay socially distant. So we had been encouraging those type of activities because we know that being outdoors is, it's not only good for your physical health, but it's also good for your mental health to get out and exercise and to be in nature. So that's one thing that we've been encouraging people to do.
And you are called the Alabama Mountain Lakes for a reason. You have lots of lakes and a beautiful river passing through that portion of the state, the Tennessee River stretching from Bridgeport and Stevenson, going downstream through Huntsville, working its way through Decatur, where the Alabama Mountain Lakes Tourist Association is sort of based, then going to the Shoals area, and then ultimately heading toward Pickwick Lake. And it is a beautiful backdrop there in the Alabama Mountain Lakes. And sure enough, your name isn't just about lakes. You got some great mountains also in your portion of the state of Alabama. A lot of people don't think about Alabama and mountains, but no, you got Lookout Mountain, Sand Mountain, and a
Mm-hmm.
whole lot more.
Yeah, we're in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, over in the DeKalb County area, Jackson County area. Oh, the fall is really gorgeous when you drive through there and see the leaves changing. So, but yeah, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful over in that area for sure.
It definitely is. Now, the crazy thing for me as a person not a native of Alabama is how in the world could your portion of the state, Melea, which has mountains galore, mountains all over the place, you are not the home of Alabama's tallest mountain. That makes no sense where the tallest mountain in the heart of Dixie is located. And I know you know where it is.
Is it Cheehaw State
Yes,
Park?
yes, it is. And that's right around Anniston. That's
Yeah, that's a little bit outside of our
it,
region, but
it
it is absolutely gorgeous.
it's gorgeous, but you wouldn't think of that tall of a mountain almost to Atlanta, for goodness sakes. But that is
That's
the way the good Lord made Alabama. He made the highest peak there, just outside of Talladega, and the raceway there in that portion of the state of Alabama. So people come to Alabama for the natural resources, which you have there with the waterfalls, as you mentioned. We're going to go through some of those when you're back on in hour number two, and also because of the incredible history that you have there. Let's talk about Helen Keller. I know that she has a place there in the Muscle Shoals area. She is from the area. You got Jesse Owens, also grew up in your portion of Alabama. Just a lot of great people have come from North Alabama.
Yeah, the Helen Keller birthplace, Ivy Green, is in Tuscumbia. It is a beautiful place. You can go in, see where she lived, see the well where she learned to say her first word with her teacher, Ann Sullivan. And it's a really beautiful place, very well taken care of. Now, Jesse Owens Museum and Park, that is very near and dear to me because I grew up in Oakville. I
Did
mean,
you?
like a mile down the road from the Jesse Owens where he was born. And there's a museum, there's a replica house that's located, very close to where he grew up. Um, and there's, like a place where the kids can test out their jumping skills to see if they can jump as far as Jesse Owens did. But it's we do have a lot of famous people from North Alabama.
Do you have the same athletic ability as Jesse Owens?
No, no, I run like a turtle.
Yeah. Well, a lot of things. It's a beautiful portion of the state, and thanks to the Alabama Tourism, the office in Montgomery, they've come out with a pretty good road trip video, and we're going to show that for our viewers now of some of the scenes of North Alabama. And there we go, going through the Decatur area, heading toward Huntsville. Of course, a lot of people know Huntsville for the Space and Rocket Center, and we know a lot of people had plans to go there pretty soon for the space camp. That's probably been shelved to some degree. We're hoping that will get back up and going as soon as possible. But Huntsville is more than just Rocket City. A lot of great attractions, including the Botanical Garden. We'll talk about that. It's also, you got, I think, the Constitution Village there in downtown Huntsville, Alabama. And then when you work your way from east to west, as I said, the Tennessee River stretching across the north end of the state of Alabama. Great food choices. Oh, yes, I love coming to North Alabama and dining out big time. lot of good places all over the 16 counties. And then the music that you'll find in North Alabama, the birthplace of Helen Keller, and so much more. It is a great place, and it's also easy to find no matter where you are in the Southeast. Yes, you can easily get to North Alabama. It's only, gosh, no more than 2 tanks of gas to get to North Alabama, no matter where in the South you are. And you've got a good airport there as well. Huntsville has an international airport that allows you to come in just about anywhere and anytime. So that there's no excuse not to get to North Alabama. Melea Hames, we appreciate you coming on. We're going to have you again back on with us in hour number 2. Remember, you can go check out Alabama Mountain Lakes Tourist Association on Twitter and more at Visit North Alabama and on the website northalabama.org. Before we leave you, so people can not only listen to our upcoming guests, we got Brenda Cantrell coming on later this hour from Unclaimed Baggage in Scottsboro, and don't forget Judy Hood of the Gunrunner Hotel in Florence, and then we'll also get our barbecue fix in thanks to Chris Lilly from Decatur's own Big Bob Gibson Barbecue. Want to ask you, while we might can do a little homework during our breaks here before these great guests come on, Melea, what is the basic approach that we need to have when we come and everything's back up and going the way it ought to be? What do you tell people from an accommodation standpoint when they're thinking about coming to North Alabama?
Well, we're definitely taking all the proper measures. One of our hoteliers who owns the Holiday Inn Express in Gadsden and Fort Payne, she has been doing an amazing job on her social media, taking pictures of what her staff is doing. They're wearing masks, they're wearing gloves, they're showing you their lobby, so when you walk in, you can see what is expected, what you can expect. And so they're playing it very safe. They're cleaning like crazy. So we want people to feel comfortable. We want people to know that we're taking all the necessary precautions, and we want you to be safe, and we want you to have fun.
Have safe, have fun, and more importantly, come to the Alabama Mountain Lakes, the 16 counties of North Alabama. They've got open arms and they're ready for you to come. Again, we're going to have Melea back on in hour number 2 to kind of wrap things up and walk through when business returns to usual road trips. There's some great places, and she's done a fantastic job breaking her area down into 4 different sections. And we'll go through some of the highlights of that virtual road trip in hour number 2. But don't forget, we've got some great guests coming up, including in this hour, Brenda Cantrell, the brand ambassador of Unclaimed Baggage in Scottsboro. She'll be dropping by. But when we come back after this break here on the Y'all Show, we're going to take a quick break away from our virtual road trip of North Alabama and our spring swing tour. We're going to go to the headlines of the Southeast. What's going on here on this Thursday? All that is coming up next on the show that's all about the South. Y'all stay wherever you are. The Y'all Show is coming right back at you. And now we're skipping ahead to the end of hour number 2 with Melea. Thank y'all for watching on our Facebook live feed or YouTube or however you're catching us here visually. We also have the Y'all radio show that's syndicated across the Southeast, and we even have a great affiliate in North Alabama, WWIC in Scottsboro there has been an affiliate of ours, and so we appreciate them for carrying the show that's all about the South. Now back into part 2 of our conversation with Melea Hames. Our website, y'all.com. We are the ultimate guide to the South. I'm John Rawl, wrapping up this spring swing tour stop, our 3rd tour stop, and we're in the Alabama Mountain Lakes today, the North Alabama, 16 counties of North Alabama that you'll find as part of the fun of the Heart of Dixie. And we've been very, very fortunate here on today's Y'all Show to have some great guests. Brenda Cantrell in hour number 1 of Unclaimed Baggage. We had Judy Hood of the Gunrunner Boutique Hotel, as well as the Muscle Shoals Sound Studio. She was on, and a fun conversation there. And of course, we had just a few minutes ago Chris Lilly, the pit master and co-owner of Big Bob Gibson's Barbecue in Decatur. He was on. And we also had Melea Hames of the Alabama Mountain Lakes Tourist Association. She was on in hour number 1, and she's back on with us here in hour number 2 to wrap things up here as we are concluding our virtual tour of the Alabama Mountain Lakes. And Melea, thank you again for stopping back by and having some fun here as we have our spring swing tour of the Alabama mountain lakes, and you did a good job. You were proactive, so good job on that. But whenever
Thank
this whole coronavirus thing started, you and the other members there at the website northalabama.org and socially at Visit North Alabama, y'all created when business returns to usual road trips. And so as we wrap up here in our spotlight of your beautiful portion of the Heart of Dixie, let's talk about what you came up with, and we'll go through some of the highlights here on this virtual tour of the Alabama Mountain Lakes. So good on you for doing this.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's crazy times. And so as a social media manager, I'm thinking like every social media manager was doing, like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? And so as I thought about it, I thought, during this time, people want hope that things are going to get better, and they also want things to do when things get better. So that's where the When Business Returns to Usual blog series came up, and I thought, I'll just break it up into the four regions in our region, and put some highlights in there of things to do when business returns to usual. And so I broke it up into the like the northwest, the north, the south, and then the northeast part of our state. And like I said, just highlighted the fun things to do.
And fun things are all over this section of Alabama. Let's start out in that northeast corner of the state, and that would be where you'd find unclaimed baggage in Scottsboro, but other areas of the state of Alabama. Let's go to Cherokee Rock Village. That's a great little spot in northeast Alabama, and you've got that featured in your When Business Returns to Unusual Road Trips.
Yeah, Cherokee Rock Village, and this is a little fun fact about that. Of course, this was years and years ago. But the movie Failure to Launch that had Sarah Jessica Parker and Matthew McConaughey, they actually filmed that rock climbing portion at Cherokee Rock Village in North Alabama. So when you're watching that movie and you see them doing the rock climbing, that was at Cherokee Rock Village. And when you get up on the top there, you can see a gorgeous view of Weiss Lake, which is the crappie capital of the world.
Did you
Lots
say
of things
crappie or crappie?
to do. Yeah.
That's there in northeast Alabama. Then you also have in that corner of your area DeSoto Falls. That's around Gadsden area, isn't it? Or no,
It's
Fort
near
Payne.
actually Fort Payne,
Yeah.
in the Mentone area, and it's probably, well, I guess it and Noccalula Falls is probably two of the most visited waterfalls in our region. But DeSoto Falls is definitely very, very beautiful, very popular.
Yeah, and you mentioned how your portion of Alabama is just loaded up with waterfalls. You are the
Yes.
Alabama Mountain Lakes, by the way, and so there ought to be plenty of good waterfalls, but beautiful waterfalls. I mean, just amazing stuff. And a lot of people may not think of Alabama and waterfalls, but yeah, you got them. And so that's another reason we've got Melea Hames on today with our Alabama Mountain Lakes Tourist Association spotlight of her portion of the state of Alabama. And then lastly, in the Northeast, I want to spotlight the Cathedral Caverns State Park, your state park there at Cathedral Caverns.
Yes, and that when you first walk upon that, I mean, it's got this massive opening, and you go deep down into the cave, and there's all kinds of stalactites and stalagmites. I forget which is which. I can't remember if which hang and which come up. But the feature in the Cathedral Caverns is this huge. It looks like a cathedral that's all the way at the back. I think they're talking about opening up tours soon, but the tours haven't been opened up just yet. But it's a must for sure.
And that's all in just the northeast corner of
Yes.
Visit North Alabama on social media and northalabama.org as we're looking at the Alabama Mountain Lakes. Now let's go to the southern portion of your section of Alabama and another great waterfall area, and that's the Martis Mills Falls. Where is that located?
It's near Bluntsville, just outside of Bluntsville, and it is. I visited it when we were doing some videos about getting outdoors toward the beginning of this, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Of course, I went right after it had rained, and the falls was just rushing. It was beautiful. There's a little rope swing that people can, braver people than I am, can jump off in there. But it flows down the Locust Fork River. It's a beautiful area.
And then a place that I've been lucky enough to go to in Coleman, Alabama, and that's Ave Maria Grotto. If you head up and down Interstate 65, I know you've seen the sign that says Ave Maria Grotto. People aren't used to seeing those kind of fancy words in the South, and you need to know what it is. So tell us what that is and why you need to go visit it in Coleman.
It Ave Maria Grotto is Brother Joseph, who was a monk that lived nearby at the monastery there, and he had built these miniature, like famous buildings of worship. He's built all of these miniature places. I think there's like 122 of them that he built over several years, and it's just an incredible sight because you get there, it's very unexpected. You get there, and there's all these little tiny buildings that he created out of scraps, a lot of it concrete, rock, shells, very different things. And you can also get some monk's bread when you go there, and it's really good for you, by the way.
Again, that is in Coleman, Alabama, and very easy to find. Just north of Birmingham is where you'll find Coleman. But we're not worried about that place called Birmingham today. We're going to be bragging about North Alabama, Alabama. So it's just south of Decatur is where Coleman, Alabama is located. Then you also have Winston County. Now you talk about in the country when you go to Winston County. You've got the Houston Historic Jail. This kind of caught my eye because we want to make sure people know about all the history that you'll find in the Alabama Mountain Lakes.
Yes, and it's one of the oldest jails that's still standing, that's out there. I also did a blog post several months ago called "Out in the Middle of Nowhere." So that's one of my favorite sayings is it's out in the middle of nowhere, but it's worth the drive to see that and to learn about that history there. And of course, Winston County has one of the most popular attractions in our area, which is Bankhead National Forest. So people really love to go there.
The free state of Winston. In fact, you got a beautiful lake there as well that a lot of people try to go to. Very secluded in that portion of Alabama. Now let's go to the Huntsville and Decatur area. You got the, I know it's easy to talk about the Space and Rocket Center, but I know one thing that gets a lot of attention locally that may not be quite as known around the Southeast, and that's the Botanical Garden that you'll find in Huntsville.
Yes, and the Botanical Garden actually just reopened this past weekend. Their butterfly house and their children's garden are remaining closed right now, and they want you to buy tickets in advance. But since it's an outdoor location, they have reopened, so you can go and visit. And there's so many beautiful things that's blooming, always blooming there.
Okay, well, that is a very good option. Again, in Huntsville, a big town. A lot of people may not realize how big Huntsville and Madison are, and that is right there on the Tennessee line, essentially, is where you'll find Madison County, Alabama. Then in Decatur, a beautiful spot right on the Tennessee River, you have Point Mallard Park, and I'm ready to get my bathing suit on and head there because there's a lot of excitement, assuming we can all get out and get a little wet here in a couple of weeks.
Yes, and I'm crossing my fingers. Of course, I live in Decatur, and I live very close to Point Mallard, so I'm crossing my fingers, waiting with bated breath when they announce their plans for the year, which they're still trying to decide what's going on. I do know the Jubilee has been postponed until September. The that happens every Memorial Day. The balloons, I believe, are still going to fly, but just no spectators. But that the actual Jubilee, which is one of my favorite events, living here in Decatur and close by, is going to be postponed. So it's
Okay.
good that it's not canceled.
And then we got to give a shout out to Oakville, Alabama. Is that
Yes.
that's your hometown? Is that Moulton County? What county is
Well,
it?
It's Lawrence County.
Lawrence
It's
County.
about 9 miles from Moulton.
Okay,
Yeah.
I made I got the town right. It's the wrong county. I see. I don't need to out Alabama you. That's where you'll find the Jesse Owens Museum and Park. And again, go there and look for the museum and park, and also look for the Melea Hames Museum and Park while you're in Oakville, Alabama.
She lives out there. You can stop by and say hey.
Okay, well, that's good. And then let's go up to the shoals of your section of Alabama. And this is a place that I had heard of, and it's hard to believe that you'll find a Frank Lloyd Wright property, but you will, and you'll find it in the Florence area. You've got the Rosenbaum House. Tell me about that.
Yeah, and it's one of the it's the only one in Alabama that Frank Lloyd Wright did. And it's in that Usonian architecture, very clean lines, that kind of mid-century look there. It's a beautiful place. And when we post about it on social media, a lot of times people are like, I had no idea that there was a Frank Lloyd Wright home there. But it's a really cool place to see.
All this again in Alabama Mountain Lakes of North Alabama, the website northalabama.org. And then, as we had Judy on earlier in the show, her husband David, one of the Swampers, there's that song that says something about Muscle Shoals got the Swampers. And that's just one of the many musical acts that have recorded and been around Muscle Shoals. In fact, we just lost a guy with a Muscle Shoals connection the other day with the passage of Little Richard. In fact, I think one of his band members was from the Shoals area of Alabama. But in Tuscumbia, you got the Alabama Music Hall of Fame, and it is a great thing to help showcase just how strong Alabama has been as a state when it comes to making music.
Yes, and every time I look at the list of people who recorded at the studios in North Alabama, I always see someone new that I think, gosh, I had no idea. And then you think about that, like these people were in our area and no one even knew, which I think that's probably one of the reasons they came is that they could, feel comfortable coming and recording and in North Alabama. But people like, of course, Bob Seger, Rod Stewart, Cher, the Allman Brothers,
Rolling
Leonard Skinner, of
Stones.
course. I mean, the list is just, it goes on and on and on.
Yeah, a lot of people have made their way as the
Yeah.
Shoals is sort of a good melting pot of really the South with all the different styles of music that you'll find in the Southeast. And the Alabama Music Hall of Fame in Tuscumbia does a great job, and we encourage you to go there when you make your very lengthy trip to tour the Alabama Mountain Lakes. And then I want to tell you about a place that I did not even know about until I was actually vacationing in the Alabama Mountain Lakes over Labor Day weekend here this last fall, and that was the Rattlesnake Saloon, and that is
Um,
in the Shoals area. It's just outside of Tuscumbia. I have not been there, but I'm dying to go there. Tell us about the Rattlesnake Saloon.
the Rattlesnake Saloon is super cool. When you get there, they take you down. Well, you can walk down, but it's way more fun to go down they have a flatbed truck that they take you down in this hill that goes down. And of course you go around. I mean, it's a narrow little dirt road, so it's a little bit unnerving for a second, but it's very cool. You get down there, they drop you off. Of course, it's this huge, overhang cave like. They have really good burgers. They have what's called snake eyes, which are fried jalapenos. Um, Make sure you have plenty of water for that. And they have live music on the weekends, but it's more than just a restaurant. It's definitely an experience for
It's
sure.
actually in a cave, is it not?
Yes, yes.
So not often do you have a chance to go out in a cave, and part of the reason they have the live music is because of the acoustics of being in a cave makes for a great musical experience. So that again is out in the country in Tuscumbia in Colbert County, and you'll be able to find that there, the Rattlesnake Saloon, and that's just many. That's just a few of the many options you'll find in Alabama Mountain Lakes. And we mentioned the food there at Rattlesnake. I love coming to North Alabama and having great food at all these places, from Big Bob Gibson's to Rattlesnake. Love me some Rosie's with two locations in Huntsville and in Florence, Alabama, and then all the other great mom and pop places that you'll find. It is a great place for food, for waterfalls, great people, great scenery. I'm sorry, Melea. I'm just going to go on record and say it. Alabama Mountain Lakes has got it all, y'all.
Thank you. We love that.
You can go ahead and trademark that if you'd like. Melea
Yes.
Hames with Alabama Mountain Lakes Tourist Association, thank you for giving us some time and for help setting up the great guests that we've had on. We had Brenda and Judy and Chris, and of course you coming on today's y'all show and letting us know all about it. One last plug from you, what we need to do, where we need to go to learn more about Alabama Mountain Lakes.
Oh, of course, you can follow us on social media because I update that daily at Visit North Alabama on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, all of those. You can find us there. Northalabama.org is our website, and you can look up all of the places that John talked about. You can search that. We have a trip builder feature on there that you can go in, you can search the places, you can add them to your trip builder. It creates an itinerary for you and a link that you can even share with your friends. But it's got our trails. We've got the waterfall trail, barbecue trail, train depots trail, um, wine trail, craft beer trail. I mean, if you like trails, we've got trails. So we've got plenty of things to do. And like I said, our the attractions that are indoors, the hotels, the restaurants, they're all taking special precautions. They're doing everything they need to do for people to be safe and feel safe. So come on and see us.
We'll do it. Melea Hames, thank you again with Alabama Mountain Lakes. We appreciate your help and for helping us here on the Y'all Show and our audience learn about your section of Alabama, as this was our third spot of the spring swing tour of the spring here on the Y'all Show. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You.
All right. And that will wrap up our Y'all Show today. We appreciate y'all being along on the tour. How about that? You don't even have to, right now at least, you don't even have to book a hotel, but you need to whenever you can get to North Alabama and stay a long time. Join us on Friday. We're going to have another great Y'all Show as we wrap up the show for the week. And again, get to North Alabama. Thank you for listening and being a part of the show that's all about the South.